Okay, hey everybody. Just enjoying a nice cup of coffee today because I'm going to be talking about, well, I'll just get going. I'm not going to try to give you a brief summary before I do my video. Okay, so it's happened a bunch of times, either when I'm talking to someone visiting the Bruderhof where I live, or I see on social media someone asking, is there a version of the Bruderhof that's Catholic or Anglican or whatever? And a bunch of my friends have also had the same question. So I'm going to do a little video about this today. So basically, from what I understand, people would like to be able to live in community with other people, support and care for them, share things, and so on. But their own faith tradition is dear to them, and they can't see giving that up to join the Bruderhof. So, as I've said before in many of my other videos, we come from the Anabaptist tradition. And it's how we believe we're called to follow Jesus. But Jesus and his church are much greater than any denomination and is not confined to specific locations or expressions. So on the Bruderhof, we say we don't claim to be the church, but we believe the church comes down to us and we experience it in our daily lives. Okay, so after that little digression, the answer to the question that I mentioned before is there a non-Anabaptist version of the Bruderhof? The answer to that is absolutely yes, there is. And in fact, there are some church communities that we know and share fellowship with, and hopefully there will be many more. So for people asking, how can I start a Catholic Bruderhof? Here are some thoughts on what I think are the most important things. So the first thing is that Jesus, his life and his teachings are the basis of our life together. It's the most important thing. And if we lose sight of that, and that has happened, unfortunately, in our 100-year history, the most perfectly organized community isn't worth anything if you lose sight of Jesus. And closely connected to that is the love we share as brothers and sisters in the church. So if we really share that love and loyalty, then everything else, property, material goods, personal opinions, whatever it is, totally recedes into the background and causes you to be concerned for others rather than yourself. Now, of course, that isn't to say you always have to have this experience, but you have to know that you need it, and you have to know your need for it. So I don't think that community could ever last longer than a few years if it's based on human good intentions. Even the loftiest of human ideals crash and burn in the day-to-day reality of community life. And that's when you come back to the center and to our calling to follow Jesus. And with that comes forgiveness and then a new start. Like the good book says, his mercies are new every morning, which is a passage that I really love from Lamentations. Anyway, another cornerstone of building up a community is life commitment. Of course, many Catholic monastic communities have been doing this for centuries, but I think a life commitment to each other is vital. For one thing, it makes it not only possible but necessary to solve interpersonal problems, since we know we can't just move along and find a new circle of pleasanter people to live with. Often this life commitment is compared to marriage. You may go through rough times, but there's no option to quit, and then you can find a way through if you know that there's no option to quit. When we become members, we make vows, and one of them goes, "Are you firmly decided to remain loyal and true, bound with us in the service of love as brothers and sisters?" And I think the sense of loyalty to others who have the same calling, even if they're not always the people who we would choose to be our best friends, is really important. Okay, and then here's another one. I think some people have this idea that the way to go about building community is to self-select the type of character traits that they would be compatible with. I think, sorry to say this, but I think that this is 100% wrong. A, it would be incredibly boring. I mean, it might be fun at first, but then eventually it would get pretty boring. And then B, the community would become very narrow-minded, which is kind of scary. You need people with different perspectives and life experiences to challenge the viewpoints and traditions that otherwise will quickly become too important. So like you're focusing on those things rather than the cause. Also, you can learn more from people who are different than you and who have different abilities and weaknesses than you do. If you have the same goal and belief, then all the superficial differences can be overcome. So connected to that, a community needs to have an open door for new people, but the door needs to open both ways. If anyone doesn't want to live in community centered on Jesus, even if they're your best friends and even if they're convinced they're really keen on community living, then it's probably better to part ways and stay friends. I've heard a couple times people say better good friends than bad members. So there you have it. Another way of putting this is community only works if it's clear that life together under Jesus is each member's one and only vocation. So it doesn't work if people's lives are split between conflicting priorities, like, for example, community and finishing grad school, or community and organic farming, community and activism, community and social work. That's not to say that all those things are wonderful, but those things can't surpass community and your vocation of following God. So this one question actually explains the failure of countless Christian communities. People who weren't willing, as the old hymn says, to either give him nothing or gladly give him all. Well, obviously there's more that could be said on this topic, and I've already decided that I'm going to do another video about this in the future. But I really think it's fantastic that more people are thinking of ways to live in closer community with one another, and we should do everything we can to support and encourage one another. And if you are starting community, please be in touch and let us know about it. Would love to hear from you. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you all next time.